Anyway, Command K clears the contents of the screen. If you ls, then you want to get rid of it all, you can hit Command K, it goes away. We were in the data types directory. We can look at the contents of strings.rb. We can cat the contents of string.rb, and this should be familiar. We made all that work, so that's cool. So we're going to do the we're going to cd into collections today, and we'll do arrays. All right, now we will open up the current directory in Atom with Atom dot. Okay. All right, so the way is strings in RB to run the tests. We can just do Ruby. What is this? Arrays.rb. I'm using tab complete all the time, by the way. Got a ton of skips. Great. So let's unskip the first one. As you're watching this, I'm going to unskip a test, make it pass. I would encourage you to try to stay a little ahead of me as I'm going, to take a moment to just play around with it yourself, see what you come up with. But I wouldn't worry too much about beating your head against the wall, spending an hour on one of these tests trying to make it pass. You just come back to the video, figure out what I did, and then maybe once you're done with this file, restore it to the original state, and then do it again. The process of learning things is really important, but it's also useful to just see how other folks do stuff. So don't struggle too hard. Programming's hard, but it's not impossible. Okay, that could be a whole other video on its own right. So test 0, line below, create a new empty array. Empty equals, how do we make an empty array? It tells us right here, we want to assert equal empty array and empty. So hit up arrow, bring the line back, and now we've got a pass. All right, remove that skip. The line below, create an array with the numbers 1 through 5. So there's a couple ways we could do this. We could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to make that pass. Or we could do, I think, 1.5.2a. This is a stretch. We'll see if it works. Cool, that worked as well. So, I don't know. Seems kind of cheating to just put the answer here, but either one of these will work. Right. Skip. Nums 1, 2, 3. Call a method on the numbers variable defined above to access the second element. So this is the first element, this is the second element, this is the third. So I think it's really useful to play with the code. So I'm going to stick a pry here. I do that with binding. I have an alias set up that's just when I type binding and hit tab, it inserts all that. Quite useful. So we're going to run ruby arrays.rb. Cool, in a pry. Okay, so let's see. So we've got nums is our array, and we could call nums.first, and we get that. Nums.second might work. Nope. We could try nums.last and probably get the last one. Cool. So we can also do accessing arrays by index. You've probably seen this before. So you just pass in inside of a square bracket, not a round bracket, a square bracket. You can pass in the index of the item that you want. Programmers do 0 index stuff, so the first is the same as 0. So we could say nums, if 0 is the first, then 1 would be the second. Is that confusing? Yes. So we'll take that and say nums 1. This should make this test passed. Pass. Control C, get out of that. We'll rerun the test, and it passes. And now I have the fabulous gem available to me. So we just got sweet colorization. All right. Skip this, or remove the skip. Line below, call a method. Oh, by the way, to delete the line that you're on, so let's see, we'll bring the skip back. You can hit Command Control K, at least if you're in Atom, and it just deletes the whole line, regardless of where the cursor is or what's selected. Command Control K. So, in the line below, call a method on the nums variable to access the last element. So we just talked about this. We can say nums.last can work. Oh, expected 3 got actual 1, 2, 3. Actual equals nums.last. Okay, that was an unexpected result, so we're gonna put a pry there. If you haven't noticed already, you'll notice soon. I love pry. I love being able to see the code run. So we've got our nums object, nums.last returns 3. Expected 3, so expect actual and expected. Oh, this one failed. Oh, this is, I don't like that. 2 tests? Oh, this is confusing. Okay, so this test passed. Let's go back and see where this broke. So see, it said failures, test 22, expected 3, actual 1, 2, 3. Does it show the line? Yeah, arrays.rb line 38. So if we jump over here, this always will show you the file and the line that broke. So line 38, if we go over here, is right here. So it's before I had the pry in here, line 38 was the assert equal. So this passed, but this failed. So that's kind of tricky. I don't love that. So I'm going to control D to get out of that. And then we'll make this one pass. So they said, find another way to achieve the same effect. We could do, so we talked about zero-based indexing, right? So 2, this would work. But we could also do, well, let's just stick a pry in here. So we've got nums, and we can do nums 0. This is pretty core array manipulation stuff, but we can also do nums -1. Or I'm sorry, -0 would give us the same item. But we could do nums, sorry, I can't type, -1, which is basically the same as going to the very last item. So if we had like 0 to 564, 2 dots, 564.to array, and we're going to say sample equals, we have this crazy long array. P sample, puts sample. Okay, so there's the very end of the array. We've got 564 elements. If I wanted to just get the last item, I could do sample and then pass in -1, and it's going to go get the very last item. So, useful trivia to know. So we will take that out, and we'll do nums -1. This test should now pass. Cool. Right. Take this skip out, Command Control J. Call a method on the hummus variable that will tell us how many elements there are in the array. I think it's really important to know how to Google things, so we're going to do a little bit of Googling. Ruby array, what was this? How many elements? How many elements? Counting occurrences of an item in an array. Cards in deck. Oh, flashcards are great. I have a whole post about Anki. You should check it out sometime. Helps make flashcards. So .count seems to be a thing that we could do. So let's try that. Hummus dot. I really like pry. So we're going to just put it there. Expected keyword end hummus dot. That should work better. So hummus dot count. Cool, that works. Hummus dot size will also work. They both do the same thing under the hood. So we'll do count, but it helps to spell it right. All right. Let's start picking these up a little bit quicker now. So let's see, line 52, assert equals. So there's two assertions here. We should keep a mind of that in that. We should keep that in our minds when one of these is going to pass and one of these is going to fail. The line below, add the element Brazil to the end of the World Cup array. Assert equal Brazil World Cup dot last. Okay, so we've got, oh man, binding time. Pry. So we've got this World Cup thing, and then we want to add Brazil to it. So we could Google Ruby add item to array. Adding items to arrays. This seems promising. Don't want to watch that video, but okay, so we've got a couple different options. It looks like this double carets thing, push, unshift, plus equals, and double carets. So let's test all of these. So we've got World Cup. The first one was just double carets, so we're going to say Spain. Let's add Spain. Cool. There's World Cup with Spain in the end. World Cup. Let's see. They said array.push. So let's try World Cup.push España. I wonder if I can do the Enya here. Yeah. España. Cool. So .push works. Array.unshift. When it says array, this just means something that is an array. So if you call like World Cup.class, it's going to show that it's an array. Yeah. If you're like, so if I did, I don't know, World Cup divided by 3, it's probably going to complain undefined method for an array. Yeah, the classes of objects matters. So we've got a World Cup.unshift, another country. Cool. So that put it at the beginning of the array. So I wonder what World Cup.shift another country would do. No implicit conversion of string into integer. Did I mean shift? Alright. Pro tip, shift can't accept any arguments. So World Cup now doesn't have another country in it. Shift removes an item. We'll probably cover that in a minute. Array, let's try World Cup plus equals. Plus equals. String into array. So they didn't like that either. Interesting. I have to wrap it into, so plus equals implies, you can see in their example, the thing that they're plus equalsing is wrapped in brackets. So I bet if I wrap this in brackets, this is going to work. And there it is. And okay, cool. So I think we've got enough to make this thing work. So we will do World Cup dot, we'll just do this, Brazil. And then use a different method to add Japan. So here we go, World Cup dot plus equals Japan. So that should pass. Sweet. Call a method on the World Cup variable to remove and return the last element of the array. So last element equals World Cup dot. We just talked about this a little bit. The shift and unshift added and removed items in the beginning of the array, and there's a method called pop that we'll talk about. So we've got World Cup dot pop takes the last item off, and now if we look at World Cup, it's down to 3. So if we do world cup.pop and then pop and then pop, world cup should be empty. Yep. So the return value of calling .pop on something, it always returns the item that got popped. So this is just saying add .pop. .pop. And they pass. Method to ask whether toxic is an element or not. Oh, so I think they want to see whether the song toxic, or the string toxic, is inside of here. Sounds like, what are we going to do? Binding.pry. So karaoke, that's a word that's going to be hard to spell. And we can try array contains element, question mark. Should have been Ruby. Ruby. Array contains element. Google technically ignores question marks, but I always add them anyway. And we're no longer frozen. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I like to add question marks to things. Dog in array, cat, bird, dog. Cat, dog, bird. I can't type or talk. If this value exists or nothing more, use the include method, and they handily link you to the docs. Returns a boolean, which is what you want. So we can say command plus bumps the font size of stuff on pretty much everything. So if you want your font bigger, command plus. So a.include thing, true, a.include other thing, false. Looks like that'll do it. So karaoke is that. Karaoke. Why am I calling it karaoke? All right, we're calling it karaoke. Karaoke.include. Was this with a question mark? Yeah. Include. Let's say dancing queen. So this should include it, so we expect this to be true. And it is. And how if we call it dancing queen? False. What about just dancing? False. Okay, so I bet it has to be an exact match between the thing you pass in and the item in the array that it's checking for. Control D out of that, and take that away, and it's going to be toxic in array karaoke.include toxic. Expected. Okay, so this syntax is worth studying. It expected true, and it actually got shake it off. Oh, did it do that line 78? Did they do two things again? Dang it, this is... so assert dancing queen in array equals karaoke.include dancing queen. Good to go. Call a method on the band variable, add the element vocals to the beginning of the array. All right, we just did a bunch of stuff with arrays, so we already know that band.unshift vocals will do it. Cool. Garden, call a method to remove and return the first element from the garden array. So we knew that like .pop won't work. Because it removes the item from the back of the array, but we just did unshift above shift. Array.shift pops the first item off of the front and returns it. This is asserting equal, basically the same thing, two different ways. Making great progress. Teams, call a method to get the second, third, and fourth teams. Some teams equals... Who's surprised that we're prying in? So we've got teams.0, like 1 should return the first one that we want, because we want second, third, and fourth teams. So teams 1. Do you remember how we did like 1 to 5 to 4? It just does that, but if you call like 2 array, it makes all those items. You can do that when doing array accessing as well. So we could do teams 1 to like 3, and it'll come back with the array items that match that. So let's try that. Teams 1 dot dot 3 second, third, and fourth teams. Now use a different method on the teams variable to get the first and second team. Sum team equals let's put a binding there. I don't know what we'd want to use for that. So it passed this test, so this one passed. Alright, so we want to get the first and second team. So we could say teams dot, let's Google it. Ruby array get first n elements. N means number. So we'll try that. And then so put my solution objects. Okay, so that works. That's one thing. First four objects. Okay, so here's another method, objects.take. So we'll try that. So we get teams.take 1. Let's see what that does. Rockies. Is it still in there? Rockies. So teams.take 3 does Rockies Avalanche Nuggets. So teams.take 2 will be our answer. Take that away. Teams.take 2. Let's run the test. Good to go. 14ers. Man, this is a lot. If you guys want to tune out of the video, I don't blame you, but after doing the strings video, some folks worked through it, made great progress, and then got super stuck on stuff at the end. So I figured I'd just make the whole video, so if you want to find the, like if you get stuck on something, you can like kind of scan around the video, figure out how I did it, and then maybe have some success. So method on the 14ers to remove the nils. So again, and this isn't like, yeah, there's a method that does it and I know what it is, but part of the value here is to like just show Googling things. If I couldn't Google during my day job, I would be like, I wouldn't know how to like concat two strings. Haha. Like that's a joke. No, for real. I'd like barely could do anything. So the question was remove the nils from the string. So see, we've got the string. And we want to get the nils out of it. So Ruby array remove nils. Map and remove nil values in Ruby. Man, people have asked the most convenient questions. I'm aware that I could just loop and conditionally collect another array like this, but that doesn't seem great. I would agree. So you can use compact, and they link us to the docs. So 1 nil, 3 nil nil, compact returns 1 and 3. Array.compact. With all nil elements removed. Let's try it. Boom. Worked. Call a method on the Pokemon variable to remove the nesting. Okay. So this is going to be a good one. This is going to segue well into nested collections, which you will hopefully be doing soon. And yes, you will get to make a video on that at some point. So Pokemon so if we do like Pokemon.first, we get that subarray, right? Squirtle, Charmander, Bulbasaur. Pokemon.first.first should return Squirtle. Yep, cool. So we want to remove nested arrays. So Ruby array remove nested array. Deleting an array from a multi-dimensional array. This is going to be, I think, a little bit trickier. How to work with arrays, remove elements, class hash, recreating the flatten method. Let's see what this says. Assuming I have the following, I would like to do delete the array containing test. A.remove. So this isn't exactly what we're looking for, but we might still find something useful. This is not useful. Ruby, what was this question? To remove the nesting. So let's just do Ruby nested array. Nested arrays and rubies. Learn.co. Sounds great. And then multidimensional arrays. So we have those. Well, I use nested arrays. I'm obviously not reading this closely. It's just useful to like look for something that contains something that could be useful. I'm not even saying anything. Create multidimensional arrays. So we can create a 2D array.new. Array remove nesting from array. I know what method I want. I just want to figure out how the heck we would Google our ways to it. Blah, 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 on shift. Okay. So, blah, 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 folders collect, flatten, +1 for mentioning flatten, 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 flatten. You're probably looking for flatten. All right, turns out this is the answer. For every element in the array, extract the elements into the new array. Flatten returns a new array that is a one-dimensional flattening of the self. So here we've got nested arrays, and it returns a.flatten returns that. So much googling, we get there. So let's try Pokemon.flatten, and let's see what we get. Hey, look at that. This shouldn't have impacted the original Pokemon object. So Pokemon is unaffected by calling flatten on it. But there's convention in Ruby that if you add a bang or exclamation mark to the end of the things, it mutates like not like a monster, it just changes the original object. So let's try adding that, and then Pokemon is probably changed. Yep, cool. So more trivia, Pokemon.flatten. And that's going to pass. Cool. Scores on the scores that will move the elements 2 spots to the left. This is tricky. Call a method on the scores variable that will move the elements 2 spots to the left. So let's see. What are we going to do? Binding. When are we going to do it? Right now. So we want to Google Ruby array move items to the left, which seems like, so of the 2 spots to the left, like if this goes to the left, this is going to go to the end, right? 23 is going to go to the very back, and then 56 will be first. And then 56 will go to the very back, and we'll then have 34, 29, 48, 23, and 56. That's my expected result. So nothing is simpler. Okay, so that's not what we're looking for. We don't want to we don't need to know about the array position. We just want to change it. Rotate. Bang, -3. How convenient. Thank you, Stack Overflow. So if we do scores.rotate, yeah, it looks like we changed it 1. 56 is now here. So let's see if that changes scores. Scores is not affected. Scores.rotate. Can we pass in 1 as an argument? We can. Can we pass in 2 as an argument? And boom, there's 56 at the back, 23 there. I wonder if we can go the other direction, -2. So if we do, let's just pull up our baseline scores again. Scores, so if we rotate it to the right by 2, we would expect 34 to be the first number. So scores.rotate -2. Doesn't look like it worked. Oh, wait. 29. So I said 34 would be the front. 34 is now the back. I'm confused. Maybe I have the wrong mental model for what direction rotations go. But so let's just try scores.rotate 2. Failure. Expected 48, 23, got 23 there. Really frustrating. Alright, I know what's going on. This was the right answer. Scores.rotate 2 is correct. Then it bumped down to here and started failing here. That is mega confusing. I would encourage someone, maybe I'll do it, to like update this test so that we have one assertion per test. Because this is super annoying. I just burnt, I don't know how much time on it. So one spot to the right is going to be scores.rotate -1. Alright, we're almost done with this thing. Vals. Call the vals to remove the y. So Ruby remove item from array. If you haven't taken a break in a while, stop the video and go take a break. I'm going to take a break as soon as I'm done. And I'm not going to, I mean, it'll be a few days before I make another video. How do I do this? Do array.delete 3. So we can just pass in the value we want to delete. So that'd be vowels.delete y. Passes. Add the element dresser in between the elements couch and bed. Couch and bed. So this will be array insert specific position Ruby. Gist pages. Sounds like they're trying to be a gist. Create an array, given an empty value, blah, 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 blah. Accessing elements, inserting, adding, array.new. So we can do, I love the insert method because it allows you to insert elements at various places in the array. So it looks like letters.insert. Let's check out the docs. Quick sidebar, get used to looking at docs, even if you don't understand them. Or find them intimidating, it's useful to get used to just looking at them. The intimidation factor will start going down as you've looked at these docs more. So 299 AB. So this inserts 0, 1, 2. 0, 1, 2. So maybe between the second and third element, the given value. Apparently you can do negative indices, count backwards. So this probably inserts these 3 values as the second to last element in the array. Yep, cool. So new furniture equals furniture dot insert between couch and bed. So we want to insert 1 dresser. Cool. Children combine into Sarah, Owen, Peter. Ah! Array combine elements. Ruby. Should have added Ruby. I don't want MDN docs on JavaScript. Documentation is your friend. It will. Okay, that's not that useful. Read the docs, says someone that no one likes to hang out with. Array.join, and then you can pass in an argument. So let's look up Ruby. Actually, we can just find it here. These are all the Ruby array methods, by the way, at the very top in a nice handy list. So we're looking at the array object, and then we've got all of these methods. So join, which we just heard of, will be here. You can click join. Returns each element of an array to a string separated by the given separator. So join separator. So let's stick a pry in here and see this happen. Oh yeah, if you want to insert a line, so I want to insert the binding right above here. So if you do Command-Shift-Enter, it moves your cursor, adds a new line above where you are. If you just do Command-Enter, it adds a new line below. So that's super useful. Binding. So is being able to type. Children. What are we trying to do? Joining. So children.join with no arguments does Sarah and Peter. It sounds like a horrible name for a child. So children.join, they said that is an option. Sarah and Peter, it looks more conventional to add a space there, so that looks right. If we wanted to join them with friend of, we get Sarah, friend of Owen, friend of Peter. So we bump on some spaces there. Cool. So join is going to be our trick. delete that, dot join with a space comma. Boom. All right, almost done. 2 to go. Call method on the ascending variable to create an array with the elements in the opposite order. Ruby array change order. Change position, reorder, giving an order, reversing the order of an array in Ruby. That sounds promising. So array.reverse sounds like it could be a thing. Sounds like there might be a gotcha. So let's see what happens. Binding. Run the class, hit the pry. Ascending is that. So if we call ascending.reverse, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. What was the problem they were talking about? It reverses the individual numbers. I'm not seeing was. Oh, they were going in as a string. Okay, cool. So, array equals ascending.reverse. Run the test, and it passes. Skip. All right. Random element out of the dice. I'm going to move this because I can't see the bottom. Get a random element out. Roll dice, assert that. 2.4 or higher. We'll only have fixed name of 3 version 2.3. So RVM list. We are on 2.4.4, so we're safe. Ruby array random element. How do I pick randomly from array? You would be surprised to know that you can call sample. I think there's also a random. I think you can just call .random on something. That's what I was going to try. So we'll see. So sample. Interesting. I would have expected random, but let's see what happens. So binding.pry, not that. Arrays dice.random, dice.rand. Interesting. Private method for rand called for array. Dice.send rand, I wonder. Interesting. Oh, okay, so Ruby rand. Rand generates a random number, not takes a random number. Okay. So we've got dice.sample. And we should keep calling it, and it'll keep bringing back random numbers without modifying the original array. So delete that. Dice.sample, dice.sample. And that's going to assert that it's an integer, and we're going to run the tests, and we're good to go. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this was painful, especially whatever that stupid test is that consumed half of this video. I apologize for that. Once you've passed all of this, I would, believe it or not, recommend like just Control-Zing or recopying down the GitHub repo, or if you run git status, and you'll see that this collections, where are arrays.rb is different. You could do git checkout -- and then pass in the file, and it resets it to the original state. So all the work I just did is gone. So, you know, great power, great responsibility, but you can do it again. Also, I would recommend writing down code in a notebook. So you should write like something that looks like this. You've got array methods at the top, and then you'll do like sample compact join, etc., and then write a little thing about what each one of them does. That will go a long ways towards building a good mental model for how this code works. You will be doing array manipulation practically every day for the rest of your life as a programmer. So don't be like, okay, I did it, on for something else. Like, you cannot know array manipulation too good. All right, that's it for me.